What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Muse podcast. We are finally on day 32 of 32 teams in 32 days, and we are finishing up our NFL previews with the Arizona Cardinals. So we're finally here, guys. Everyone that's really supported this show during this NFL previews, man, I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. We just hit 1,700 subs. Thank you so much, man. If you guys watch this episode and you like it, man, please support the show. Click like, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Again, man, thank you guys so much. If you're not familiar with my previews, kind of what we do is we talk about additions and resignings. We talk about departures, what the Arizona Cardinals did in the 2021 NFL draft. We talk about strengths, weaknesses. We do a record prediction, a bold take. And we mainly just focus on, what do we see from this team this year and kind of moving into the future. And we try to keep it light. We try to keep it fun. But we try to keep it fair. So when we look at the Arizona Cardinals in 2020, they went 8-8. Little bit of a roller coaster of a year. We saw some times where they were looking really good, potentially making some noise in the playoffs. And we saw some times where you're like, oh, they ain't making the playoffs. So it was a little bit of a mixed bag. It's a young team. It's a team with another year under their belt. So it's going to be interesting. When we look at additions and re-signings, we see that they bring in James Conner, AJ Green, Kelvin Beachum, Brian Winters, Rodney Hudson, Marcus Golden, JJ Watt, Robert Alford, DeQuise Denard, and Malcolm Butler. I like bringing in some of those guys. Two of the bigger names like a James Conner and AJ Green, I don't love. I like the guys. AJ Green 5 years ago, was elite. One of the best in the game. He didn't look good last year, man. Don't get fooled by name value. He just didn't have it last year. Did not look good. Hopefully, another year removed from that injury, he comes back. James Conner's a guy where if the offensive line is strong, he can come downhill and make plays. He'll hit the holes. But he's a guy that he doesn't have a lot of wiggle, doesn't have extraordinary power. He's kind of at the mercy of the offensive line. I think he's a fine running back. Just if he's a guy that's carrying the ball 15, 20 times, I don't love it, man. But I like, shoring up that offensive line a little bit. I like getting a veteran like a JJ Watt. Shoring up that back end with Denard and Butler a little bit. I like the guys that they brought in. As far as departures, they lose Kenyon Drake, Larry Fitzgerald, maybe still a free agent. We're still not sure if he'll come back. J.R. Sweezy, Hassan Reddick, Devondre Campbell, Patrick Peterson, and Dre Kirkpatrick. So they lost some talent in that back end. And I think they washed it out a little bit. I think Patrick Peterson's he's better, but he's kind of in the same boat as a little bit of an AJ Green, where it's a little bit more name value than it is talent at this point. I mean, he is still really good, but he's not Patrick Peterson, of a few years ago. Hassan Reddick blew up last year. I get it. The Cardinals were like, we're not going to pony up for a guy who's only had 1 year of elite production. So I think that makes sense to me. Kenyon Drake, you lose him. He's kind of always been a little bit more of a name than talent-wise. So, he's a little bit of a different player, but I think James Conner can fill that Kenyon Drake role. And they have other talent on this depth chart in the running back position. So I don't think this is crippling as far as departures go in 2021. In the draft, the Cardinals, kind of a little bit of a surprising pick. They go out and get Zaven Collins from Tulsa. It's a guy that I love, man. He was one of my favorite players. I think he's a guy who he's an old school, huge linebacker, right? But he's very, 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 very versatile. You can see him line up on edge. You might see that a little bit early in his career while he's still kind of learning out, as far as reading an offense, pass drops and stuff like that. But, he's a guy that can play off ball, on ball. So I really like Zaven Collins. He had a really funny line from when he got drafted when he started talking to the Cardinals. So I do like Zaven Collins. I like the pick. A little bit, like I said, a little bit of a surprising pick. I thought they'd go DB, but I like the pick. They get Rondell Moore, who's one of those guys who didn't carry the name in the draft, but he's a talented guy, man. And this Cliff Kingsbury offense with a Kyler Murray with talent around him, I think Rondell Moore is going to be one of those guys. If you're a fantasy football player, you want to get him on your team because I think he can end up playing like that number 2 role in this system. I think it's going to come down to him versus Christian Kirk. as far as who's going to get the second amount of targets on this team. But I think as a rookie, I love getting him on the team because I think he's ready to roll. They get Marco Wilson. They get a little DB depth there, which I think they're going to need, because injuries is something that you kind of always face. But I think he's a guy who probably isn't ready to roll right now. They get the preseason in, they get a few games in. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. So we could see him midway through the season getting some kind of pivotal snaps there. When we talk about team strengths, all right, I'm gonna hit you with a little bit of a hot take. I'm gonna go Skip Bayless on you. I think their defense might be a little bit better than their offense, which I don't think you'll hear anybody say. Maybe it's just on paper, but I really like their defense. And it's not that I don't like their offense. That's how talented of a team I think this team is. Love Kyler and Hopkins, man. I'm not completely sold on Edmonds and Connor. Just getting a lot of touches. I like those guys as both number twos. Maybe they just split them and they're both getting like number two touches. But they don't have a bell cow back. So I do like this offense. I told you I like Rondell Moore. I'm not a huge AJ Green fan at this point in his career. I like Kirk, but he just kind of disappears in games sometimes. Like he'll have a game where he'll go for $143 touchdowns, and the next week he gets 2 catches for 14 yards. I don't get it, man. But I've always been pounding the table for a Christian Kirk. I like the guy. You're kind of, you're putting a lot of weight on a Rondell Moore, like I said, the rookie, Keyshawn Johnson, Andy Isabella, who might not make the team. It was once a promising prospect. So it's interesting. But on defense, like I said, I like their defense, man. If Chandler stays, and I know he requested the trade and whatnot, who knows? But I'm not sure why he wants out, man. He finally has some protection around him with the J.J. Watt. But I absolutely love the dynamics of Chandler and Watt coming after the quarterback. Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins is so fun, man. You talk about two versatile guys who can do it all. Isaiah Simmons is a guy that we kind of forgot about last year. He's just a fun player. So I like that. I love Byron Murphy. Big time fan. Buda Baker is a guy that I just loved when he came out in the draft. I think he's a big time player. He didn't have the size, so he slipped a little bit. But I think he's right there on the verge of becoming elite. So I think this defense has a lot of talent, man. If Chandler Jones sticks around, I just think this defense is going to be a lot better than what people think. I think they have the chance of being a top 8 defense, maybe top 5 defense, and just really helping and not putting so much pressure on this offense. As far as team weaknesses are concerned, I think it's Cliff Kingsbury, and it's a little bit different. I don't hate Cliff Kingsbury as much as some people do. But that's why I'm a little low on this offense. I don't necessarily believe in Cliff Kingsbury wholeheartedly. I don't think he really has an identity in the NFL. He's bounced around a little bit as far as philosophies kind of are concerned, and that's always when you don't have that true identity and he's not sticking to his guns. I get it. He can't run his college scheme in the pros, and he was a smart guy. When he came out his rookie year, as far as a head coach goes. We saw him do some different stuff, which I liked. He was a guy who was smart enough to recognize that he can't do the same stuff. But as far as that goes, he just makes some questionable in-game decisions. I think Kyler is elite enough where he covers up some of the holes in the play calling as far as the X's and O's go. So we'll kind of see how him and Kyler continue to mesh a little bit and see how far they can take this offense. When we talk about biggest question marks as far as this team's concerned, who steps up opposite of Nuke? Can Kirk become more consistent? Does Fitz come back and just fill that role as far as like that team safety blanket? Will just the running game in general really step up and just kind of help take some of the pressure off? We saw DeAndre Hopkins just, absolutely kill it last year. But teams are going to start doubling, tripling him. It's something he's faced his entire career. But it's something where you're just taking some of the pressure off of, Murray just having to look for Nuke every single drop back. So it's going to be interesting of who steps up on this offense and really becomes not just in the passing game, but that number 2 option as far as, hey, we need this first down. Let's give it to him. Record prediction. I told you this, and if you watch any of my other previews, man, when I talk about record prediction, this division is just stupid good. It's the best division in football, them in the AFC North. I mean, just they can have 4 playoff teams. Would not surprise me a single bit. I mean, you look at 3 of the top MVP candidates: Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford, and Russ Wilson. Man, those if any three of those guys win MVP, I wouldn't be surprised. Um, I'm saying they go 9-8. I think they're right there on the fringe, playing around. They might make a playoff spot. I can see them going, at 10-7. This division is just so stupid tough, though, guys. If they were in the, NFC East, I think they win 11, maybe 12 games. But with this division being so tough, there's no give me games. That's why I'm going with 9-8. But like I said, I think they might squeak into the playoffs. They might barely miss it. That's kind of what I'm seeing from this team for this year. My bold prediction is if the Cards do make the playoffs, I think Kyler Murray wins the MVP. I think he's that guy that's just he's knocking on the door, man. We saw him get a little beat up late in the season before he started dealing with the injury. He was just unstoppable. I mean, he was on pace to match rushing wise and pass him, and as far as passing yards, maybe not as many touchdowns, but as Lamar Jackson is an MVP season. Like, that's how good Kyler was last year before the injury. I think he was on pace for 1,200 rushing yards. I mean, this dude was just in fuego. So I think if they do squeak into the playoffs, I think Murray wins MVP. Really surprises a lot of people in this league. Guys, that's it. I'm done with the previews. All done. It's a wrap. 32 teams, 32 days. I appreciate you guys for showing the love, man. Like I said, if you stuck around this far and you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button, show love to the show. Drop in the comments what you guys think, man. Do you think I'm off base? Do you think 9 wins is too low? Do you think they're a 12-win team? Do you think they take the division? Or are you just being like, man, Cliff Kingsbury ain't the answer. Kyler Murray ain't good. They're going to win 5 games. I don't know, man. It's your opinion. Drop in the comments. Let me know. Guys, again, thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, thank you so much for sticking around for the entire video. Thank you for supporting the show, clicking that like button, subscribing, comments, all that fun stuff. If you could just take one more second and check out Rep Sports, check out Raise Energy. They are partnered with this podcast. They are help supporting me. So if you go and check them out, it's the best tasting energy drink on the market. 100% guaranteed. They have supplements, protein, pre-workouts, recovery, all that stuff. If you guys check them out and you use promo code SportsMuse when checking out, you get 15% off of your order. And who doesn't like, some money off of their purchase? That's awesome. So definitely check them out. And like I said, it helps support me. It helps support them. So please check them out, guys. And thank you again so much for sticking around.